If you have bad aim, there are 5 habits in Rainbow Six Siege that the majority of the player base watching this video is doing at least one of. So if you want to get your aim better, you need to watch this video till the end. The very first mistake that you're making is that you are not consciously placing your crosshair in the right place. Just general crosshair placement. Not even that you're not always aiming head level. It goes much deeper than that. Let me explain. Okay, first of all, we're going to go over the basics of crosshair placement, like aiming head level, like I just said. Aiming head level is very simple. It's what you want to be doing the majority of the time. When you see any good streamer playing the game, like me and myself on Twitch every single day, you should go check that out, by the way, they're always usually aiming head level, and they're always usually standing head level. That's because when you peek standing, you move the fastest, whereas if you're crouched, you make noise when you crouch, and you peek slower. So stand head level and aim head level, because good players will be doing the same. If you're aiming head level, you're going to hit more headshots, and if you can't control recoil and you suck at tracking, it won't matter if the first shot you hit is a headshot. So aiming head level will be the one mechanic and the one tip in this video, honestly, that can increase your level of play immediately the quickest. It's the easiest thing to get better at, just aim head level. And if you don't know exactly where head level is, there's a very simple trick I can teach you. Just barricade a door. If you look at these little buckles, these yellow buckles right here, that is where head level is. So if you take down the barricade, now whenever you go to peek the double door on the church stairs, you know exactly where head level is because of these buckles, and you can sit and pre-fire it, right? So if you know that you're going to hold an angle for like the rest of this round, let's say I know I'm going to play in moto and hold main stairs, I could just barricade and unbarricade this in prep phase and then hold the main stairs. Or let's say I know I'm going to be playing on like this mirror right here, for example. I could barricade this door, then I could unbarricade this door, and then if I ever want to swing oil pit or swing someone who drops the hatch, I could just look at this buckle and aim head level and get a free kill. Very easy thing you can do, and if you do this for like a few days straight, you'll just naturally start to know where head level is very, very easily. Okay, obviously there's more to crosshair placement than just aiming head level. You want to be able to aim crouch level. How do you know where crouch level is? Crouch level, if you look at a barricade, if you look at this buckle, it's just 1 screw, 2 screws up, and now you know crouch level is always right here. I just always have to aim right here. This is crouch level, right? That's always going to be crouch level. Look at that barricade. Boom. That's crouch level. Prone is literally just at the floor. It's very easy. But if you get the sound cue of somebody crouching, now you know exactly how to readjust your crosshair and kill them when they're crouched, right? That's another thing about crosshair placement. Now, let's talk about where your crosshair should be in relation to where you're positioned. For example, do I want to be aiming at the right side of the door from the right side of this door? Or do I want to be aiming at the right side of that door from the left side of this door? Why does it matter what side of the angle that I hold? Well, you always want to be aiming from the opposite side of where you're holding. So if I'm holding the right, I want to aim from the left. If I'm holding the left, I want to aim from the right. Why do you want to do this? Well, if you know someone's coming from the right, let's say they're coming down that main staircase, right? That means I can make the angle that I'm looking at them with the tightest I want to. I can make it a really, really, really tight pixel angle, kind of like this, just like as an information peek like this, or I can make it really, really wide and give myself a lot of room to like shoot him if he comes across, right? So you get to dictate how tight the angle is. They don't. Also, if they're full sprinting across, and you have this tight angle, they're going to pass your angle, right? So you can choose to let them pass, and then boom, you have the information, but you don't have to take the gunfight, or you can choose to open it up and re-swing them. And because of the way that ping and latency in this game works, if you're re-swinging a door and they're backing up into a door, you're going to be able to see all of them, and they won't be able to see any of you, meaning that you're going to win that gunfight and they can't shoot you back. So you always want to aim from the opposite side of where you're holding. So if you're holding the right, aim from the left. If you're holding the left side of that door, aim from the right side of this one. Very simple concept. There are some certain exceptions, like for example, common angles. A really common angle is behind this box from the left side of this box onto the pixel angle there. If it's a really common angle, you're gonna get pre-fired. So sometimes it's better to hold an off angle like this. You can still hold the pixel or get information on it or play close to the door, even though you're on technically the wrong side of the door because you're, holding the right from the right. And like I said earlier, you want to hold the right from the left. But even though it's technically on the wrong side, it's a better decision because it's an off angle that nobody expects, right? So there's some like niche scenarios where it makes sense to do the opposite of what I just told you, but just as a good rule of thumb, do it from the opposite side. So now we've talked about positioning with crosshair placement, where to actually place your crosshair. That's just one out of 5 different things that's absolutely ruining your aim. That's just one. And these get increasingly crazier as the video goes on, so make sure you stick to the end. The second thing that's ruining your aim is that you are leaning or unleaning while you're in the middle of a gunfight. You do not want to do this. The reason for this being is because leaning displaces your crosshair. Let's say, for example, I'm not leaned at all. That's where my bullet's gonna go. You see that little bullet hole right there? That's where my bullet's gonna go. If I were to lean, but not move my crosshair at all, obviously, my bullet goes in a different place, right? Very common sense. So what happens? Let's say this little box right here is the head of an enemy player, okay? What happens if I'm unleaned mid gunfight and I start leaning and I start trying to like lean spam? My crosshair is going to go all over the place and I'm going to miss his head, right? Another thing that you can just learn from good players if you watch good players who are streaming. If you take a look at any good player, when they're taking a gunfight and they're leaned one way, they don't unlean or lean a different way mid gunfight because it displaces their crosshair. They stay leaned in the exact place that they're leaning the entire time unless they get cover so they can re-lean a different way. There are some exceptions to this rule, like if it's going to make them be able to swing something different, but for the most part, if someone is unleaned and they're taking a gunfight, they're going to just stay unleaned, or if they're already leaned and they're taking a gunfight, they're going to stay leaned, right? They never displace their crosshair mid gunfight. It's fine to lean, take a gunfight, leave and then unlean, and then retake it unleaned, but you never want to be like leaning, then unleaning, then leaning again, all in one magazine. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's going to get you killed because it displaces your crosshair a lot, especially when you're like spawn peeking or it's a really, really long range gunfight like this right here. It will actually get you killed. So it's something that will throw your aim off, quite literally will throw your aim off, and it's a quick little tip that I wanted to throw in this video just in case. The reason it's such a big deal is not only because it displaces your crosshair, but because it can ruin your chances of actually getting a kill. Let's say that I'm on the server door, I'm on the closet door, right? And I know someone's on the connector door. If I'm leaned to the right, and the only way I can see that door is if I'm leaned, if I'm taking the gunfight and I unlean, my bullets aren't going to hit him. They're going to hit the door, right? So obviously, unleaning or leaning the other way here wouldn't make any damn sense. But surprisingly, in low elo, like especially in like the copper and bronze ranks, a lot of people will pre-fire and do this, and then like they'll just miss 5 bullets because they didn't stay leaned and just finish the kill and then leave. You know what I mean? So just always lean in, then stop, then lean out. You never want to be leaning and then just like spraying. It doesn't make sense to do that. Now that does ruin people's aim, but I will say out of all the things in this video, that probably doesn't ruin your aim the most. Something that I think probably over time does ruin your aim the most out of anything else in this video is not having a warm-up routine. Now, I know every content creator talks about this, and I've talked about it before, but I want you to hear me out on this, okay? You don't have to warm up like 15 to 30 minutes before every single ranked session. My ass doesn't even do that, right? And I stream the game for a living. I'm gonna be as honest as I can with you. You're probably not gonna take my advice, but if there's one thing you can take away, it's that you need to at least be warming up a little bit, even if it's as you queue for a ranked game and it's in the shooting range. If you don't have time to sit and test recoil for all the guns you're going to use in the day and sit for minutes and try different settings in lane 3, just copy these settings I'm about to give you. If you're new to the game or you're just bad at the game and you have bad aim, these are going to be your best settings right here. I'll give you 3 seconds to just screenshot this and go about your day. 3, 2, 1, cool. Now, if you're a good player with a little bit better aim than average, I want you to copy these settings. If you don't have a warm-up routine and you don't want to warm up, I get it, but at least do these settings in a shooting range while you're queuing for rank. That way you're at least a little bit warmed up going into the day. Now, for people who actually are going to warm up, let me tell you exactly what you can do if you want to make a crisp, clean warm-up routine. First of all, come into lane 1. Lane 1 is where your recoil control is going to be the best. So if you know that you like to play a certain set of operators, and maybe some of those operators have a lot of recoil, the first thing you should do is try to get the recoil down for the day. Even if you've been running Twitch F2 for the past year and you know the recoil pattern, it's better to just see where you're at in the day and at least try to control it, because some days you just aren't able to control it for some reason. That's just how the human brain works, right? We're imperfect creatures. So to do this, just put the target range at 5 meters, put your crosshair at the bottom, and don't control the recoil at all. Just hold down your shoot button and let it go up, right? I know, okay, Twitch F2 goes straight up and slightly to the right. So I'm going to pull straight down, slightly to the left. Now, that was terrible. And that's my point, is like some days you're able to control it, and some days, like for me, I'm just not able to control it right now, right? But if I just were to try maybe a few more times, now it looks like I have a Cronus, right? So like even just trying it one time made my recoil control at least consciously there. And it's better that I get that whiff out of the way in the shooting range than me get it out of the way in an actual game. Because if you don't do this, your brain isn't going to tell itself to consciously control that recoil mid-gunfight until you've practiced it a few times beforehand, right? Now, I know my console players are freaking out that I'm controlling recoil this badly. Recoil is a lot harder on PC, so just bear with me. I've tried controller. Twitch F2 on roller is so easy, it's insane. But on PC, bro, I have to like drag my hand down to control this thing. It's like wrestling a snake. I can't do it. I'm a DMR player, what can I say? You get the idea though. Let's try like a better weapon like SMG-12. A lot of you use SMG-12, so this probably resonate with some viewers. But it goes up, straight to the left, and back up. Again, that's just harder on PC than it is on controller, so bear with me. But first try. Not that terrible, right? I can try again. A little bit better. And then I can try again. Boom. Okay. So I got the hang of it within just like shooting it for like a few times, right? Now let's go to zone 3 for the next part of my warp routine. And that's just going into the lane, hitting begin on either one of the settings that I showed you, and then just going around, practicing your flicking. I don't think having the dummies running across your screen honestly is that good. That is going to practice your tracking more than it's going to practice your flicking. And in this game, you don't really need to be tracking people. You need to be flicking to people, right? People aren't flying across your screen like the games Overwatch or Fortnite. People are in random corners sitting holding angles, and most players are actually pretty still unless they're swinging you with a shotgun on a doorway like they're Jinxie. So you want to make sure that you're practicing primarily your flicking, your crosshair placement, and your reaction time when shooting, which I think the drill that I have on screen is best for. Warm up using your 1x for, let's say, a minute or 2 minutes, and then warm up using a 2.5 for another minute or 2. And then, with that, you should be completely fine. After this, your recoil is not going to look terrible. I mean, even now, like, I missed, like, a few balls, but I'm not doing terrible. Like, my flicks are kind of on point. But as you can see, I'm still missing shots, and this is my first time playing, like, all day. So I'd rather get those missed shots out of the way now than in a game. And that's kind of the entire point of this segment. Is you just want a warm-up routine to really get all the kinks out before you get into your ranked match, even if it's as simple as doing it while you're queuing for ranked. I know a lot of people, especially on console, when you have a lot more people playing at one time, because it's more popular on console than it is on PC, that like it's going to be hard for you to do this, because the second you queue, you're going to find a game. But some people may not have that issue. Like, if you queue South Central servers on PC, you won't find a game for 12 minutes. So, like, you really can do this. Some people, you really can't. It just depends on, like, what you're playing on and where you're playing it. But you get the idea. Just use this for a warm-up, and you should be fine. But if you don't want me to talk about warm-ups anymore, let's get into the next thing that is absolutely killing your aim. And that is changing your sensitivity too much. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Copying somebody else's sensitivity will not make you aim like that player. I don't know why people think that copying Stompin's roller sense will make them aim like Stompin. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. Stompin didn't get good aim by copying this sensitivity that's just magically good for everybody. He got good at aiming because he fucking practiced, okay? If you find a sensitivity that's really weird, like really, really low or really, really high, but it still works for you, it's better that you run something that's unorthodox but works for you than something that everybody's running that doesn't work for you. So what I would do is I would go in the shooting range and just find a sensitivity that feels right. Just put on like 50-50 sensitivity. If that feels way too high, turn it down. If that feels way too low, turn it up a little bit, and then find that perfect middle ground until you found your sensitivity. Then get good on that sensitivity, and if you want to increase it or decrease it based off of performance, do that. But actually find your sensitivity and change it based off of you rather than finding a different player's sensitivity. So, for example, me, I played the game on 4:4 sensitivity for the longest time. This is back when 1.5 times scopes were in the game, and I was an absolute demon. I was an absolute demon. If you look at some of my montages, like that are really, really old on my channel, I was a 1.5 menace, brother. But I had somebody who played the game professionally tell me that my sensitivity was too slow. I couldn't do a full 180 on my entire mouse pad. I had to pick up my mouse a lot. So they told me to increase my sensitivity to 6.6. I tried this for about 6 months. I was never, ever as good as I was on 4.4. And even when I tried going back to 4.4, I never could aim the same again. Ever. I was never as good on 4.4 as I used to be just because I changed my sensitivity. And I will forever be mad that somebody told me to change it. Because if it's working for you, who cares what the meta is? It's working for you. You should always find what works for you and what everybody else says. I'm so serious. Now, later down the line, I did a multiplier increase. Essentially, that means that 4.4 sensitivity for me now is 40-40 sensitivity. But I also liked 5.5 sensitivity which in my case is 50-50 sensitivity. But I liked something in between 5.5 and 4.4, which is why I put the multiplier in. So I ended up on 45-45, then I thought that was too slow, so I ended up on 55-55, and I've liked 55-55 ever since. On my mouse ADS sensitivity, I run 42. It's a pretty slow baseline sensitivity, and on my 2.5 and 3.5, I run 69. My 2.5 and 3.5 were like a little bit too low, and I liked being able to flick really quickly without having to un-ADS and re-ADS. It's especially important now because when you ADS on a 2.5 scope, it's slower than a 1x scope. So I liked having a high 2.5 and I changed it based off of that. But I didn't copy somebody else's sensitivity. I did it because it felt right for me. And even though I did take inspiration from Spoit for a little bit of my sensitivity, I only kept it because it actually felt better than my other one. So always do something that works for you and stop trying to copy other people's sensitivity. Not only should you stop trying to copy other people's sensitivity, but you shouldn't be changing it all the time. You should be sticking with a sensitivity for at least 6 months at a time, at the very minimum. You should not be changing it once a month, once a week. God forbid you're changing it every day. Even changing it once every 2 weeks is like crazy. Once a month is crazy. You should not be doing that. You have to build the muscle memory. You have to put in the hours. You have to put some work into paint and just stick with the sensitivity. You will do better and you will aim more consistently, I promise you. Now for the final thing that is killing your aim in Rainbow Six Siege, and that is that you are swinging incorrectly. There's a few things that go into this, but I'm going to explain it in a very simple way that will make sense. Let's say you're attacking the basement of bank. You have the bomb chassis right here. Typically, you'll have a vaultable rotate that's right here. You'll have head holes that are right here, and then you'll have a doorway that people are swinging off of right there, right? These are all common angles you have to worry about. What I see too often is people will skip angles. So even in higher play, people will rat on top of this desk and just sit here. Because unless you open this wall, no one's going to clear this as an attacker. No one looks hard left because you're so worried about the rotate, the head holes, the door. People will rat here, right? People also will sit behind the bomb chassis and people will sit tuck right here, right? So what I see a lot of players making the mistake of doing is they'll walk up to this door and the first angle they check is the door, right? And you might think, well, that's the first angle they're going to swing me from, but you didn't check over here. You didn't check behind the bomb chassis right here. You didn't check hard left, right? I would have checked hard left. Okay, swing, check the bomb chassis. Okay, check the door, then check the head holes, then check behind the desk, then check the rotate. You see how I had a whole order of operations? I went from left to right because I was swinging from left to right. You want to check every single angle. I see too often people will just skip a bunch of angles and go, oh, head holes, and then they'll just die to someone on their left. Or if they're swinging the right, they'll go like head holes here, and they won't even check the rotate or the desk or the bomb chassis, and they'll die to that, right? So you want to make sure that you're checking every single angle as you're swinging, and then go for one. You don't even have to like quick peek every single angle too, or like jiggle peek every single angle. You can just swing like this, and then shoot. It's not really recommended because you're having to react to more quicker, but it's still something that you can do if you don't want to be too over aimy. And that is something that goes into swinging incorrectly as well. And the final thing I'll go over in this video, you don't want to be over quick peeking too much. Fett told me this in a video where I had him actually coach me. It was a while back, but he told me that I was the type of player that over quick leaned too much. I was quick leaning literally every single angle. I was doing it way too much, and it was getting me killed. He actually showed me that the most proficient fragger in Rainbow Six Siege history, a pro league fragger, his name was Herds, actually doesn't quick peek at all. To be fair, he's on land, so quick peeking doesn't really have as much of an effect because there's no latency and doesn't really give you an advantage. But even in ranked, he still wouldn't quick peek. He would literally just like dry peek everything without quick peeking like this. Or he wouldn't Shiko peek, excuse me. He would still peek like this, but he wouldn't like Shiko peek. And I think people Shiko peeking doesn't really give you an advantage because, again, you're moving your crosshair so much when you lean that it's really going to mess you up in the long run. The only time you should quick peek is if you're quick peeking the same angle over and over and over again. You shouldn't be quick peeking one angle, then quick peeking the other, then quick peeking the other, right? You should just be strafe peeking or just like actually just wide swinging it and then quick peeking one angle. So you don't want to be over flicky and over quick peeking, but you also want to make sure that you're thoroughly checking every single corner. You want to find the balance in between both of them, and that is going to win you the most amount of gunfights. And that is 5 things that you do wrong that is messing up your aim. I stream every single day on Twitch if you want to check that out. But for now, check out this next video, and I'll see you there.